Anyone can become a demon slayer, right? You just have to breathe really, really hard. Today is the day where I tried to become a Hashira. The Hashira are the most powerful demon slayers, and I've put together an entire program to become a Hashira. I just need to set a few ground rules, 7 different training sessions, and no food until the training is done. This video contains manga references, so just keep in mind there might be light spoilers, but nothing crazy. But the training is only as important as the food you fuel yourself with. So I had my sous chef make a few things that we're going to be eating today. These are foods that are featured in Demon Slayer during the Hashira training arc. And honestly, they're really simple to make, but I took a few creative liberties with them. The first one is a very simple miso soup with a ton of tofu in it for not only the protein, but the fiber as well. The second item is absolutely loaded tuna onigiri. He tried to load these up with as much tuna as possible because we wanted all of that additional protein. And the last thing was actually this red bean bao bun. He didn't make this for me from scratch, and I'm very disappointed in him, but these are actually a pretty decent brand, so we're just gonna roll with it. Luckily, Chef did make a full Demon Slayer recovery meal, and if you want to see that, I'll leave a link for that down below. But right now, it's time to get into full Hashira mode. Today's video is sponsored by CHEFPK.com and my cookbook Antibites. I have a really special announcement for you guys at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. According to the manga and anime, we have to start our training with Tengen Uzui, the sound Hashira. It's pretty fitting that he leads them through their basic training. This builds up your strength, stamina, and endurance. To build my strength, stamina, and endurance at the same time, I will be completing the Big 5-5, 55 reps of 5 different exercises, all done back to back without rest. This is brutal, and it's just the start because I have 6 more exercises to do after this. I have to do 10 push-ups followed by 10 knees to elbows, 10 jumping lunges, 10 knee strikes, and then 10 alternating wide grip push-ups. Repeat the entire process for 9 reps, then 8 reps, then 7, all the way down to 1 rep. Tanjiro did this training for 10 days before being able to move on, and I just did it in about 20 minutes.
And now it's time for the Mist Hashira's training from Moichiro.
That's 1 down and 6 to go, and this next part requires a sword.
Moichiro is responsible for teaching the Demon Slayers high-speed movement and swordsmanship.
That exercise is what I practiced with Chris Sensei when he taught me how to be like Ichigo for an entire week. To complete Moichiro's training, I actually have to swing my sword as fast as I can, and that's what this exercise is. I did this 10 times for 60-second bursts. Next was 10 minutes of my very own form of kirikaishi. These are multiple overhead swings that strike both the left and the right side of the opponent's head. My shoulders are on fire at this point, and I don't know how I'm gonna get through the rest of this.
10 minutes of that after Uzui's workout? Oh man.
Now, before I move on, I do have to say there are going to be some inconsistencies in this video, and there's a reason for that. While I was editing the Hashira Diet, I realized I needed some better shots and some better explanations because I'm bad at planning. So I actually did the Hashira training twice. They were about a week apart, so that's why my hair is longer and my ears are pierced. I wanted to call myself out on this, just like I would love to call out my wonderful patrons that you can join at the link down below to support the channel directly. See what I did there? Enjoy the rest of the Hashira Diet. Go ahead, Paul. Do your thing. Thanks.
I just want rice balls.
Now for the second part of the Mist Hashira training, sprints. The reason why I chose dead sprints is because Moichiro mentions that you have to be able to tense up and relax your muscles very quickly. This means I am sprinting all out for about 50 yards 10 times. Sprinting like this actually activates the fast twitch muscle fibers in your body, which I hope is what Moichiro is trying to teach. Doing sprints like this just reminds me I really need to work on my cardio health. Moichiro is insanely fast, and sprints aren't the only way to be fast on your feet. The last part of Moichiro's training are what I like to call fancy feet. This is actually a martial art footwork technique I learned while practicing Choi Li foot, but I'm going to apply it here. I start with a simple warm-up of explosive shuffles from side to side, and this just really helps prime my body for the next part. The true footwork is this: keep your feet on the ground and slide them so one foot crosses in front of or behind the other. Either form is fine here, and it's good to practice both styles. After a few rounds of this, I add a sword swing. This way I can combine everything I have learned from the Mist Hashira into one movement. Explosive speed with a sword attack. This is a serious workout, especially if you don't give yourself time to rest. Do those for about 10 minutes, and I promise you're either going to be warmed up or gassed. I'm a little bit warmed up. I've completed the boot camp and my missed Hashira training, but now it is time for some excellent swordsmanship, led by Obanai, the Serpent Hashira. Obanai teaches the Demon Slayers how to move around the battlefield and get in and out of their opponent's defenses. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a bunch of people I can tie up and move my way around while I practice my strikes, so I'm just gonna pretend that there's people around me. For this, I once again leaned into my training with Chris Sensei. The footwork I learned during my Bleach training can absolutely be applied here. Moving around the battlefield is essential for a Demon Slayer, and being able to do it quickly is really important. I used all of the skills in footwork combined with sword swings to hone in on each of my imaginary targets. To start things off, I practiced my kendo footwork. It's something I haven't really kept up with, so it feels good to practice it one more time.
But I'm not here just to work on my footwork, am I?
After getting warmed up, it was time to add in my sword swings. For every 3 steps I took, I made 1 sword swing. This prevented me from swinging too wildly to start and really helped me get a rhythm going. Then I swung every 2 steps. The pace was getting faster and faster, and I could really feel it. I did this for another 2 minutes before going to my absolute limit.
I honestly thought Obanai's training would be a time for me to somewhat catch my breath, but I was absolutely wrong. The explosive movement feels so good, but I am sweating.
Now, for every step I take, I add a full swing. Obanai's training is really about pinpoint strikes, so I could strike to either side of the head or the hands. A hit is a hit, and I had to hit my Kage Bunshin 50 times before I completed this training.
There's so much sweat, and this is the second time I've done this.
But you know who doesn't care about your sweat is the Wind Hashira Senemi, and he is the next challenge I have to go through. He teaches the Demon Slayers how to attack over and over again without rest, until it feels like their arms are about to fall off and they start bleeding from their mouth.
I'm gonna be honest, I feel really great after Obanai's training, but I am kind of tired. I would love a break, but the Wind Hashira would never give anyone a break. But it's okay, because this is where I get to use one of my favorite weapons.
Since I was training alone, I took on this training with some creativity. Earlier this year, I trained like Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen for 7 days, and I learned how to use a tri-sectional staff. This is a weapon that is known for being able to attack and defend at the same time. A perfect weapon, in my opinion, for the Wind Hashira. If this were Bleach, his would absolutely be the 3-sectional staff. My first goal is to spin the tri-sectional staff for 60 seconds in one direction, then 60 seconds in the opposite direction without stopping.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear this, but this is why I think this should have been the Wind Hashiras. Let's see if you can hear the wind.
Nope, can't hear the wind. You have the windsock on the microphone. There you go, buddy. There you go. Now you can go. Honestly, it's still really hard to hear, but I could kind of hear it flipping by my ears. I had to do this 5 times for a total of 10 minutes before I could move on to part 2 of the Wind Hashira training, and that is something I'm just not good at.
I don't know of any Hashira that stands still and attacks, so I have to do the thing I'm pretty terrible at. That's trying to move with this.
Standing in place and practicing a staff rotation isn't too difficult for me, but moving forwards or backwards at a high speed is something that I have not been able to master. It feels like the most Wind Hashira move though, and I really want it to work. My goal here is to move forward 20 steps as fast as I can while spinning the staff, then turn around while still spinning the staff and move 20 steps back the way I came.
Oh God. Oh, my head. Woo! It's a good thing I got all this hair on my head. Oh, that hurt. Whew.
I practiced over and over and over again, and I failed a lot, but I also succeeded a few times. I will take that win, even if the Wind Hashira would probably try to kill me for failing even once.
That last set felt really good, but now it's time for the hardest Hashira's training, and that comes down to the Stone Hashira Gyome, and I have to do it with this.
A 40-pound weighted vest, because this is all about the muscles. I feel like I'm at the home stretch. I have 2 more trainings to go before I can finally eat. The problem is the next training comes from the Stone Hashira Gyome. The Stone Hashira is known as the strongest demon slayer, but his training is simple, right? Body and muscle strengthening. Well, it's not going to be that simple with this 40-pound weighted vest and a 3-mile hike to a waterfall ahead of me. This weighted vest actually represents the tree logs that they use in the anime, but since I don't have a tree log, I'm gonna just use this 40-pound weighted vest.
We have 2 more trainings to go, the Stone Hashira and the Love Hashira. The Stone Hashira is all about strength and power. So I threw on a weighted vest and I am headed up there to see the waterfalls. It's quite a trek, but I think it's gonna be worth it.
There's one test I need to complete when I get to this waterfall. One test I'm really not ready for. A test that I haven't done in 10 years.
This weighted vest represents the tree logs that the demon slayers have to balance behind their back while doing a horse stance for the stone Hashira's training. That's exactly what I'm gonna be doing once I get behind that waterfall. I'm excited. I'm kind of excited. There's a lot of people here, so it's gonna be awkward.
This is a 3-mile hike with an extra 40 pounds, making my total body weight 240 pounds. At this point, I can taste the fresh water in the air. Literally, it's flying right into my mouth because I'm so close. Okay, I'm here behind the waterfall, and look how gorgeous that is, but I get to admire it while practicing a horse stance. Why did I decide to do all of this in one day? This meal better be worth it, otherwise I'm gonna go have pizza. It is better be worth it.
I feel like this is probably the best spot. The waterfall is right there. It's really loud, and there's a bunch of people coming, so they're gonna see me do a horse stance. Okay, you should do this with me so I'm not as embarrassed. Oh my God, oh, I can barely stand in here. Oh God.
Now, I don't want to do this alone. I want you at home to get up and do a 60-second horse stance with me. You ready? Get your legs nice and wide and squat low. Press the sides of your feet out and get your knee over your toes.
Perfect place for this.
Absolutely.
Oh God, it hurts.
Hold this for 60 seconds.
Oh, it hurts.
Doing great.
Oh God, 5 more seconds. Let's go. Oh. Oh. Okay. Oh God. Oh, my legs are shaking so bad right now. Oh God. Okay. We have to finish this hike. Oh my. Oh, is it recording? It is. Okay, we got that. Oh my God, my legs.
With that done, I have to loop my way back around and head down. That should be easy, right?
That was a great bad idea. Like one of the worst, best ideas I've ever had. Oh, my legs.
It wasn't easy because it was uphill both ways in the dirt. My legs are on fire, and I didn't even need the real fire under me. I feel like I can compare the rock pushing training that Tanjiro had to do with what I just did with this weighted vest.
We're here. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get into the water for the cold. Oh no, I can't do a cold plunge. Oh well.
So I made my way back up the mountain and I really started to feel the soreness in my legs. This is what I get for skipping that cold plunge, isn't it?
I'm using my recovery breathing technique. Whatever Uzui did to neutralize the poison, because my God, the pollen count today is insane.
You think Hashiras or upper moons are strong? There is nothing stronger in the Pacific Northwest than pollen, trust me.
Please, let me just have this one where I don't have to push a rock, because I actually have to do Mitsuri's training next, and she will not be gentle.
As I climb my way back up to the sweet, sweet flat ground and luscious grass, it is now time to be destroyed by Mitsuri and her stretching through brute force. Mitsuri is the love Hashira, and she also loves to dance. That means she puts all of the demon slayers in leotards and makes them dance. Unfortunately, I forgot my leotard, so here is me dancing in my skin-tight All Might outfit. You're welcome and/or I'm sorry. Mitsuri is incredibly flexible, and I am not. I'm going to give it my best shot because I really do need to work on my flexibility. I've been using Tom Merrick's daily stretching as my guide for a week now, and it's great, especially for someone like me. It feels really, really good to stretch after all of this today, and it almost feels good. Stretching is painful for me. I stretched for 15 minutes, going through various positions to try and get everything nice and loose. I'm going to crawl to my lunch now. I don't even know if my food is good or if it's still hot. It's actually been over 2 hours since I started this.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna crawl over to the spot where I'm gonna have lunch while other Paul tells you about what we're having for Demon Slayer recovery training. Okay, bye. Oh my God, everything hurts.
Oh, now you want my help. That's fine. I'll take over talking about the food because the food is super important for a Demon Slayer. A few weeks ago, I made the entire Demon Slayer recovery meal. This was 2 types of dango and a red bean bun, but that is not what the Demon Slayers eat for the Hashira training. This is actually based on the foods that they eat when the Demon Slayers are training with Uzui. Uzui's 3 amazing wives make food for all of the Demon Slayers while they train, and they really only make 2 items, a miso soup and an onigiri. I personally threw in a red bean bun done for breakfast because maybe these demon slayers had something before training as well. To make the miso soup, I made it really simple. I started with 64 ounces of water, that is half a gallon of water. To this, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of concentrated dashi. This is a fish-like broth that's going to help season the soup. I did add this to preheated water, but just make sure that your water does come to a boil so this way the dashi fully dissolves into your soup. You don't really want any granules hanging around. Now I am going to be adding 1 pound of medium firm tofu that I've already cut up into small cubes, but we do not want our soup boiling for this next part. Before I add the tofu, I do have to add in my white miso paste. You can also use red miso if you want, or any other miso you have laying around. Just make sure you use a good amount. I'm using close to 2 cups of miso paste for this amount of liquid. A big thing with miso is you really don't want to boil it because it can hurt the flavor of the miso. So I really just have my heat over a very low heat so it stays nice and warm, and then I start completely fisting my tofu, turning it into bits of nothing before I pick up the plate and then put it into my soup directly. I'm trying to be very gentle here so this way the tofu doesn't break up, and this is also why I have the heat really low, because if this were boiling, not only will you hurt the miso, but you could break apart the tofu. Stir this up until it is nice and incorporated, and then we get to put in some seaweed. These are just nori seaweed sheets that I had laying around that I'm going to be using for the rice balls later, so I get to use them for 2 different applications. While I keep my soup warm over on the stove, this is where I get to take the opportunity to work on the tuna onigiri. Paul, you doing okay over there? You need a hand, buddy?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Keep going. Please tell them about lunch. Leave me alone.
These are super simple. I'm using around 3 cups of white rice that I've already cooked and cooled down to room temperature, around 16 ounces or 1 pound of canned tuna, 2 to 3 tablespoons of Kewpie mayo. You can go heavier or lighter on this depending on your flavor profile. I'm giving this a quick mix just to make sure all the mayo is incorporated. I'm seasoning it with salt and black pepper, but you can throw in some chilies, some green onions, whatever you really want here. Just make sure it's all mixed up and give it a taste to make sure it tastes how you want. Now this is where it gets a little weird. Usually with onigiri, you only have a very small amount of filling on the inside to just give it some flavor. In this case, I'm going to try to fit in all of the tuna into 3 giant onigiri. This way I can get the maximum amount of protein possible. I'm scooping a giant chunk of my tuna and placing it directly into my now flattened rice using the plastic wrap that I have to try to form all of the rice around the tuna. This can take some time and it can be a pain, and in hindsight, it would have just been easier to make regular onigiri and then pack the tuna separately, but I decided to make it hard on myself. But this is what I was able to come up with. A thick, giant tuna onigiri. These things, when I say are big, they are pretty thick. I did this with the remaining amount of rice and it gave me around 3 tuna onigiris, and I wasn't able to use all of the tuna, but that's okay. I'll just eat it later. Hey dude, you sure you're gonna make it over there? Now I am wrapping this with a bit of seaweed, and this is the same nori that we used for the soup earlier, so I was able to use it twice. And the seaweed realistically gives it a little bit of crunch, a little bit of texture, but it does hold everything together so it doesn't fall apart. I'm trying to be gentle here so the tuna doesn't spill out everywhere, but because these are thicker than gyome, I am wrapping each of these with plastic so this way they hold up in the car and I can bring these to the park. After wrapping all 3, these should be good to go. I can throw a lid onto this container, and I'm keeping them cold in the fridge so this way when Paul eats them later at the park, they are hopefully still nice and chilled, because no one wants warm tuna salad. And to keep the soup warm, I have this giant 64-ounce thermos that I'm going to fill with soup that Gandalf does approve of. What he doesn't approve of is trying to get the soup in with a ladle because there's so much of it. But needless to say, I try and spill all of the soup everywhere because I'm an idiot. So then I became smart and got myself a giant measuring glass and started filling this up over the sink, so this way if I did spill, it didn't really matter so much. The biggest problem was the tofu wasn't getting in and Gandalf was starting to become impatient. I was eventually able to get almost all of the soup into the container by spilling half of it on the floor, and this was filled to the top with miso soup loaded with that tofu. This, Paul, is ready to eat. And it's been about oh my god, it's been 3.5 hours since I arrived, and I'm finally done with my version of Hashira training. The last thing to do is to fuel myself with everything that my sous chef had made. I know this one wasn't as crazy as doing something like a 7-day version with Toji, but honestly, I really wanted to see if I could put this all together in a small session. It felt really good to be outside for a few hours and get all of that in, and to be inspired by a show like Demon Slayer. To do all of these different things is really cool to know. Doesn't matter where you get your inspiration from, as long as you get some from somewhere. Is my soup still hot? Oh my god, it's still piping hot. Look at, can you see? Can you, maybe?
Oh, that's so good right now. Oh, the salt and the miso and the dashi. Oh, that's so good. It warms your whole soul. Where's my tofu at though? I wonder if it's like one tofu at the bottom now. Maybe if I swirl it up, I can get some tofu out of it. Nope. I'm pretty sure it's one tofu, so I'm gonna get a tuna onigiri out. Now this entire lunch is actually pretty decent for calories. These 3 tuna onigiri come out to about 90 grams of carbohydrates, about 8 grams of fat, and maybe about 30 to 35 grams of protein, just because I didn't use all of that tuna. If I finish all of that soup, that's another 40 grams of protein and quite a significant amount of fiber and fat. So what's great is that I can eat this and then go eat some more. This is my weird tuna onigiri. Oh, there's so much tuna. You know one of these? Something about bringing your lunch, eating it outside after strenuous activity. This is awesome. Look at how thick that tuna is. That is ridiculous. That's basically just a tuna taco. My name is Chef PK, and remember, keep playing with your food. I have nowhere to go, so I'm gonna ask you to leave. Is that awkward? I promised you guys something special, so I'm at my old high school where I had to go inside and give away $1,000 to a graduating senior thanks to you for purchasing all of those copies of Annie Bites on my website. This is the Knife Roll Scholarship, and I'm so excited to give the first one away. Hi guys, how's it going? My name's Paul. I've prepared nothing. This is me returning to my old high school after 20 years. When I started this YouTube channel, I made it a mission to try to give back what I could because I think it's really important. So thanks to you guys for purchasing books, watching the channel, and really helping this community grow. This is the first year where I could give away a $1,000 culinary scholarship to a culinary student at my old high school. Next year, I hope I can give away multiple scholarships, and it's people like you that make this happen. If you want to support the mission, you can head over to chefpk.com and you can pick up one of the cookbooks, and a portion of that will go to these scholarships. Next year, in addition to the culinary scholarship, I really want to give away a digital arts scholarship. Without the digital arts and the traditional arts, we wouldn't have anime or manga. I just want to give a sincere thank you to everyone who's been here for this journey. I'll leave a link to my website down below and on screen, as well as the full video for this speech if you want to see that. Like Alphonse Elric said, you take 10, put in a little bit of yourself, and you give back 11. Thanks for being here.